Well, there's always something going on at Central Florida's theme parks and beyond. Hi, guys. I'm Haley Coombs, digital content producer of ClickerOrlando.com and author of the In the Loop Theme Park Scoops newsletter. So, roughly 100 miles southeast of Walt Disney World is Disney's Vero Beach Resort. And on the sands, there is something very delicate they've been keeping an eye on because it's sea turtle nesting season. And pretty soon, scientists are hoping to gain some more knowledge thanks to a traditional migration. So joining me now to talk about the annual Tour de Turtles, Dr. Zach Gizon, Conservation Director at Walt Disney World, and Dr. Mark Penning, Vice President of Disney's Animal Science and Environment. Hi, guys. Thank you guys for joining me to talk about this wonderful topic.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
Thank you. So, guys, I want to talk about first what drew you to focus on sea turtles? I mean, they mean so much to Florida. They are on license plates. Everyone loves them. And right now is obviously sea turtle nesting season. So, yes, tell me what drew you guys to sea turtles.
Yeah, I can just say that, we are so fortunate to have this iconic species right in our own backyard here in Florida. I mean, these are imperiled animals that are absolutely beloved around the entire world. They've been here for millions of years, and we want to make sure that they're here for millions more. And so, going to the beach in Florida, it's just part of what we anticipate, and we want to make sure we're good stewards of the environment and do everything we can to make sure that their populations are rebounding and getting back into really healthy levels.
And then Dr. Mark?
Well, I'm very excited about this event because it's such a great partnership. It's of course, the sea turtles are an important part of this, but we couldn't do this program without a great partnership. It's the awesome folks at the Disney Vero Beach Resort. It's our conservation partners, the Sea Turtle Conservancy. It's the amazing Disney Conservation Fund that's been doing this project for decades already. And then, of course, it's the guests at Disney's Vero Beach Resort. It's the members of the public and the guests that respect the fact that they're sharing this space with these sea turtles. It's one of the most important sea turtle nesting beaches in the world. We're so lucky to have it on our doorstep.
It's really interesting that you say that because I really am interested to know. I know last year we had a huge season for sea turtle nesting. So how is this year's season comparing to last year?
This year is a very strong year. So last year, I gotta say that, like Dr. Mark was saying, it's a partnership and it's a long-term commitment to conservation to start seeing this massive rebound in sea turtles that we have seen. Last year was a record-breaking year. In the 5 miles of beach that our team monitors out there, we're out there every single day from March through October. Tracking these sea turtles and monitoring the nests. We've documented over 22,000 nests over the years and an estimated 1.8 million sea turtle hatchlings coming out of these nests and going into the ocean there. And that culminated last year in over 2,800 nests on this 5-mile stretch of beach that we monitor. And it was an incredible year because the loggerheads and the greens simultaneously had a record-breaking year. And this year, we're a little bit back to normal numbers with our greens, and our loggerheads are having another awesome year. We're not far behind that record-breaking year from last year.
And we're halfway through July, and the nesting season goes through October, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we still got a long way to go. But
in
terms of like where we are year to date, we're right on the heels of last year, which was a record-shattering year.
And, we're watching, I have footage pulled up from last year, and it really does seem like an amazing event, so heartwarming to see a turtle going towards the water. Tell me about these events. It's amazing. Tell me about it.
Well, when you have an opportunity to see something like this firsthand, it's really cool. Firstly, you get to see science in action, which is fascinating. But also, the event helps people just learn a little bit more about what's going on. Mm-hmm. You start to realize those sea turtles hatched out on that same stretch of beach 30, 40, 50 years ago. When they mature, which is at around 30 years old, they come back to the beach that they originally hatched out from? How do they find it? There's a question we try to answer. Where do they go once they go back into the sea? We want to try and answer that. So this project is a great science project in that it gives us valuable information about what those animals are doing, but it also makes people who are watching appreciate the fact that we're sharing that space with those sea turtles. And our guests are just wonderful. They love this event, they love the sea turtles, and they know that they can use the sea, they can use the beach, but they do it in a respectful way that recognizes the turtle lives there too.
Yeah. Yeah, and tell me about the way you're able to track these turtles is that little device you put on the shell. Tell me about those satellite transmitters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a really amazing technology. So, we know that sea turtles are these iconic species, and we've been working on that beach for 21 years at this point, documenting them. But 90% of a sea turtle's life is spent in the water. They're sea turtles, and they spend that time at the sea. And so, although we know a lot about their nesting behaviors and we're tracking the hatchlings that come out of those nests, 90% of their life is more of a mystery, and we really need to gain insight to what they're doing during that time and where they go. What we do know is that they don't tend to nest and feed in the same areas. They're migrating around the world, and they come back to the same beach to lay their eggs. So we use those satellite transmitters, and we get insight into where they're going for the rest of the time. And that's a really critical component into knowing how to best protect them, because if you don't know where they are, you don't know how to best protect them. So these are really critical data, and that's how we learn it. And you can learn more about it by going to tourtoturtles.org and tracking these sea turtles and see where they're going.
And you mentioned, I'm really curious, what is the hardest part about keeping these sea turtles safe?
Well,
I will start. Go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, let me start, Zach. I would say that, the turtles represent a habitat. They represent beach and ocean habitat. So protecting the beach is challenging because people love to use the beach. So do sea turtles, and we have to do it together. When there's understanding, there's a respect, and it works, right? In the sea, it's a little more challenging because you can kind of throw anything into the sea. People have this perception that the sea can just soak up anything you throw at it, and that's not true. Remember, a lot of these sea turtles will eat jellyfish, and plastic bags floating around in the ocean look an awful lot like a jellyfish. And those plastic bags then cause impactions, and those sea turtles die. So controlling what goes into the sea is just as important as protecting what's actually on the beaches.
And,
absolutely. And I would just add to that to say, in the case of, say, the leatherback sea turtles, one of my favorite animals on the entire planet, they're going from a hatchling that's, it's about as big as a deck of cards or smaller to something that's the size of a small car over the course of decades out there in the water. And every one of those life stages has different threats. And we really need to think about the entire lifespan of these animals and address all of those. So sometimes it's on the beach, it's picking up trash on the beaches and knocking down sandcastles. Sometimes it's looking at our fishing practices and how we can be innovative and support organizations looking at fishing nets that don't accidentally catch sea turtles. And it's making sure that we don't have that ocean waste like Dr. Mark was talking about. So there's different threats, and we need to look at every one of them and look at that whole life cycle. And that's how we can really have an impact.
I mean, you just answered my next question was, how can anyone help? I mean, it's simple as, yes, picking up trash, just being more aware. And I mean, between your guys' guests of Vero Beach Resort, but really anyone, correct? Can just simple, awareness, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm from Utah, and I talk to my friends out there, and we don't think, how can I have an impact on sea turtles? But, if you watch Finding Nemo, we know that all water leads to the ocean. Marine debris starts at home. And there's so many things that you as an individual can do, no matter where you're from in the world, to help make sure that that garbage finds its right home, it goes in the right spot, and you can help with habitat. Dr. Mark was talking about the importance of habitat. Backyard habitat is critically important, especially to migrating animals. So if you can have a little part, plant a pollinator garden, be mindful of our own impact on wildlife, it all adds up and it really makes a meaningful difference.
Cool. Cool. Dr. Mark, or did you need to say anything? Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to just add, anybody is welcome to come down to Tour de Turtles, our event on the 27th. It's not just for resort guests. So anyone is very welcome to come and experience it because, seeing those images that you showed there, that's great. But when you see these animals in person, and you get to understand how big they are, how amazing they are, what they do, where they go, you just develop a real fondness for these animals. It's a life-changing experience. So come down and see it. We'll be celebrating two sea turtles this year who will be named Ebb and Flo. Lovely names, and of course they are inspired by a new animated series that will launch actually on the 27th of July and will be on Disney Junior and Disney Plus. And we are so grateful to Disney Junior for their partnership this year. This is going to be such a great event. They're awesome partners, and it's a life-changing experience. I highly recommend that guests come down and take a look.
You touched on was supposed to be my last question was the names. Yes, Flo and Ebb, because all the turtles, of course, have to have a Disney connection. I know last year was Haunted Mansion. So this year, yeah, Flo and Ebb. And I, of course, had to look up where these names came from because I'm like, these sound familiar. And then, so they're coming out for the Disney, series coming up, but also it does have a tie-in, from what I saw, to a very cherished show when I grew up was the Little Mermaid series. And I saw they were the two alligators in this episode. So while I'm excited that it's for something to come, the fact that it is just homage to the Little Mermaid series, it's pretty cool.
Of course it is. It really is. And we try to do that. What we're trying to do is connect Disney storytelling with real life events that are happening out there in nature. People tend to forget perhaps that Walt Disney himself was so passionate about wildlife. He loved animals. And we like to remind ourselves and each other that it all started with a mouse. So we're just continuing that legacy of Walt Disney's fondness for nature and for telling beautiful stories about animals and about nature.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken a couple of freshwater turtles up into, a pond nearby, like near my house, that show up in my yard, and seeing them go to the water is such a heartfelt moment. So I imagine this is on even a grander scale. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for sharing this awesome tradition at Disney World, because you don't think we go beyond the parks, we go beyond the cruise line. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.